We're live.
Okay, welcome to the Facilities Committee meeting, May 7th, 7 o'clock. All those in attendance, myself, Scott Potts, Mike Wolf, Ken Smith, Dr. Otto, Monica Hamill, and Mr. McAmoyle. And with that, I guess we will turn this over. The first item on our agenda is the high school security discussion. And with that, who wants to take that?
Well, we invited Bill here tonight. I know Ken and Mr. McElmoy have been talking, obviously, not to have to repeat what prompted us to increase security measures. Now that we've had a little bit of time to evaluate it, we felt it was time we come forward with some kind of final recommendation, give a chance for conversation about that, and then move on from there. So at this point, I know Ken and Mr. McElmoy have done some talking and research, so I'll let them kind of jump in here and talk about some of the things that we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd asked Bill to show up tonight. We were looking at basically walk-through metal detectors, and I'd asked Bill his opinion on what we should do with the wands or the pass-throughs, as they call them, and that's why Bill's here. I'm going to give the floor to Bill right now.
Before he starts, I think what we want to review is, where we want to go from here. I think we feel fairly confident, as confident as you can feel with the changes that we've done based on the incident. The incident has been solved. It doesn't appear there ever really was an imminent threat of violence. So now that we have all that information, we don't want to overreact, but at the same time, we feel as though we may have started some good things to increase security a little bit, but we don't want to go overboard at the same time. So I'll let Bill, as he runs the building every day, talk more about that.
Okay, the walk-through metal detectors, we had discussed that as a possibility, but after using the two handheld wands that were purchased right away, that really slows down the entry into the building because the wands are set off by every person. Okay, whether it's a belt buckle, a shoe buckle, keys in their pocket, there could be body piercings somewhere, and they have to show us, why it went off. So that takes time, and of course we can't get into, depending on where a body piercing might be, them showing us.
We're not going there.
We're not going there is correct. And, so I don't think that, and recalling the times I went to the courthouse in Reading for cases we had with students, going through their walkthrough, that set off even when you put your keys and everything in the little container and it's passed through. Usually you set it off anyway. And then, so that, imagine 1,200 kids coming into the high school and we're doing that. And about 800 of them come through the two front entrances, which is where we were going to, we're thinking about doing the walkthroughs. And I don't think it's a good idea. So what I would like to do and what I'm proposing is that we just have two more handheld wands. And we have 4 entrances into the high school, and we would use those wands, and we would wand everybody, and I'm not proposing that we search every book bag next year. There would be, and talking actually to state police, the patterns established where every 10th student is wanded one day, and then so the next day it could be every 8th student. Could be every 10th, 5th, 10th, 5th, so that you have a pattern so a parent can't claim or a student can't claim, my child's being picked on at random and isolated for no reason. Why are they being wanted? Which we had right from the get-go when the state police were here after the incident and they were wanding students. I got calls right away that their particular child was being picked on and wanted. I said the state police are doing it at random. They didn't tell them, there wasn't a pattern at the time, but then that came up, that's a better way to do it. So I'm proposing that we have patterns for each day next year at each entry, And it would be every, like I said, the pattern wouldn't be the same every day, but there would be a pattern. So a predetermined pattern, so someone can't claim that their child is being isolated and searched on purpose, because that's what they were claiming.
What's the cost right now of those wands?
Those two wands were less than $1,000, weren't they?
Now, the two wands were $130 a piece. I mean, so we paid $260 for the
A
wands.
lot cheaper than what we thought.
Yeah, yeah.
And in conjunction with that, because as everyone knows here, the book bags, every book bag is being checked right now. That would be random then next year, but I would request and communicate to parents before the end of this school year that everybody has a clear book bag for next year or a mesh book bag. So a lot of visual inspections can be done then too, and you don't even have to wand them. But here's what people will not be happy with. And that is that they keep, even though they have a clear book bag or a mesh bag, they put them in their locker once they get to school. Unless there's some doctor's note where they have to carry their books in a book bag. But really, that when you have an 80-pound book bag, I would think the opposite is true. That usually the note is they shouldn't be carrying so much weight in their book bag. But I've had complaints that why did you require a clear book bag if they have to put it in their locker? And that was because I really I wanted all book bags because there's still more solid book bags than clear or mesh. And I didn't want, if I said you can keep a clear book bag, then a lot of kids would pressure their parents, I thought, to buy them a clear book bag so they could carry a book bag around all day. So that I didn't want to do that because I did have some legitimate complaints about the expense of, well, we bought a new book bag already this past summer. We shouldn't have to buy another one. That's why I backed off on that at the time. But at any rate, really for this committee, it's I'm not recommending walkthroughs because of the expense. I'm not recommending them because I really don't think they're going to perform their function adequately for the entry of 1,200 high school students. So that's not something I think we need to do.
Have, in any of the other searches, if you want to call it that, has anything come up in any of the searches that we need to be worried about?
No. Nothing has come up in the searches at all. So now everybody knew their backpacks were going to be searched, so perhaps they cleaned it up a little bit. They're going to be told they're going to be searched at random according to a predetermined pattern next year, so they're not going to know what that is. So they'll never know if they're going to be searched or not.
Do you ever do a random locker search, or is that only based upon a suspicion of a certain person?
Correct, we do, based on reasonable cause.
Okay.
Which is a much less stringent criteria than probable cause.
I think probably a lot of these kids are carrying all their books, but I know my son did a couple years ago where they wouldn't have to go to their locker. So they put all the books, so they were carrying that 80 pounds all day long, but they just felt it was easier.
Correct.
So obviously they have enough time to go to their locker.
Yeah, they have 4 minutes between each class to get to their locker. And once the middle school was rehabbed, and we call it the annex now, almost all the 11, 12 classes are on the annex side, and all the 9, 10 classes are on the new 14-year-old high school side. And they have plenty of time. Even if first period after homeroom, a 9th or 10th grader has to go over to the band room, which is in the annex, the old library. I've walked the walk with them and even stop at the locker. They can get there in 4 minutes. It's not an issue. They have plenty of time. You may hear some that's not true, but it is.
Okay. Well, I definitely, for $260, that's great. I was getting a little scared what you were going to say with the walkthroughs.
Well, I think some of the information that we found too is that when you do these things, you also create this false sense of security that nothing's ever going to happen. Even with our best laid plans, if somebody, I mean, there's always a way. Oh, there's always a loophole, and I support what that plan. I mean, it, especially the book bag part, and get the word out early, so that we can plant the seed now, so that no one can say they didn't, quote, have their due process and they didn't know it was coming. So our issue beyond the high school is maybe how far we want to push this down into the middle school as well. We had that conversation in the room, with the elementary principals and the middle school people. So that may be the next phase of this as we take a look at it. But I don't see, I mean, like I said, I support what he's proposing. It seems to make sense. I like the randomness of it. I think that's as much a deterrent as anything, to not know and be able to predict the system. If you don't do anything, then there's no deterrent.
Right.
If you do something and they don't know what that something is going to be, it could be happen at any time. So to me, that's, I mean, the reasonable person, and obviously if someone's, looking to do something, they're not too reasonable, but people get the message that
Obviously you
we're watching.
Would have told me years ago that when I was up there in the hill that we're going to need metal detectors, I would have said there's no way. But obviously today's society is changing, but it is still.
Well, to be honest with you, based on the resolution of this, the criminal resolution of this case, and now our investigation coming full circle, that we know that there really was no imminent threat, is helpful. But it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen in the future, that someone might be more serious about it. So I think moving forward, we talked about it at length when this all hit the fan, that maybe back at Columbine we should have done this. I mean, we've kind of been lucky. And
I know there was one item brought up, I believe, at the meeting with the state police and up at the high school.
Oh, you mean the open forum that we had?
Forum, where a parent did bring up, obviously, you can't be there all the time to monitor, but after school,
Correct.
you have access. So that sort of brought.
Well, the
my eyes.
only response I would have to that is we do have the building cameraed, and hopefully, I mean, are all the hallways cameraed, Kenny? Someone can't walk down the hall and do something without us noticing it, can they?
There's some blind spots.
Okay.
There's some blind spots.
But for the most part, what would you say? 85 to 90% of the covered, the floor space is covered?
Yeah,
I would say
about that,
Yeah.
maybe a little less.
Okay.
The acuity of the cameras isn't the greatest, so even though it's in range, sometimes you can't make out some
Right.
of the things.
But I do think that acts as a deterrent to know that those are there.
Yeah, I mean, the parent had a point, which really I thought she was saying, so why are you searching at all?
Right.
If they can come in, because it is an open campus, and they can come in for play practice, musical practice, basketball practice, whatever, and then someone can open the door
Right.
and let their friends.
Oh, yeah, they could plant something.
So I was interpreting that, then why are you doing this other stuff? Because it is a step that does help to elevate the awareness to all the student body and the community, that how important it is really to know what your kid's up to, and that we're checking at the high school upon entry. But you're never going to have 100% safety.
I mean, there are some school districts in the county, I don't know that we gathered the stats, but have nothing. Everybody's just an open door. You just get in. There's not security at the door looking at their bags. There's no wanding. Did you find in your research any other high schools that wand? I think Reading
No.
High might. Or Reading has, you got to go through a checkpoint at Reading.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want to, categorize Reading negatively, but Reading, my wife used to work at Reading High School, and if I would go to visit her, sign in, stamp, I mean, the whole thing. You got shaken down before you got through the door. So that's the way it was. I don't think anybody else does that, though, besides Reading. Other than you have to sign, there's a sign in and sign out. I mean, we already have locked doors during the day.
Right.
I mean, I think our security, knock on wood, has been fairly decent. So I know that's hard to quantify that, but
More the
You have to
bad,
go-
just a bad judgment of some students.
right. I mean, all of our elementary buildings, you don't get in unless you buzz in. Everybody's got a buzz. So I think we're covered. I mean, about as much as we can. You know, it's just the high school, because you have the older children that come and go, and the way high schools work, that, you know, more parents in and out during the day, et cetera, but and none of you can get in even without, you have to buzz in. So,
I was there for the lockdown at the middle school back in January, and that was buzz in, walk in, sign in.
absolutely.
So it's
But that's during the day.
during the day.
Right,
During
I
the day.
understand.
In the evening, it was a little bit more.
Oh,
I just ran through the whole
no,
building and
right.
no one's, you
It's
know,
true.
I just
It's
went through
true.
the entire building because I thought we were there. And I was wandering all over, and I was like,
How'd you get in?
I just walked right in from the lobby where the auditorium is. I just walked right in, and then
Was it unlocked?
everything was unlocked. I was everywhere. Because
So
I went there first thinking you guys were there, so
They shut down at 5.
I went to the library, I went through the cafeteria, I went through,
I won't say we don't have to do a better job probably with
I mean,
all of
I'm
our
just,
buildings.
I mean,
So.
those type of things happen, but I
A
don't.
high school's an open campus. I mean, I don't,
It's really not. It should be locked.
It should be
But
locked.
There is an event going on in practice,
Computer.
then a coach would let the kids in,
right.
but it shouldn't be left in the unlocked position. So the door, you could just pull it open.
I just
That
walked
should-
right
that-
in.
That
They're
shouldn't be
I-
locked,
happening.
they're
called
locked,
from the
they're locked
library.
during the day.
Yeah, they're
I
locked all
mean,
day.
They're locked all day.
They're locked all day, and there's only one, I mean, I don't know, but someone had to unlock for an event.
Yeah, I don't know. All I do is I ran up there, opened the door,
So
walked
I'll
in,
look
and
into that.
ran through looking for you guys, and then I called you from the library because I was in the library. But I had gone to the cafeteria, the library, the bathrooms. I was all over.
I should have told you we were in the far end of the building.
Last month, right before we had their big music home show, I tried to get in. All the doors were locked. I couldn't get anybody's attention because they were playing. And I finally, from the one entrance, it's the old annex main entrance there. I finally got one of the maintenance guys, the custodial staff, knocked on the window. Big guy came over,
Chris.
wouldn't let me in.
Won't let
But I
you-
yelled through the door, "Can you go get Mr. McAdams?"
He wouldn't let you in,
No.
and you're a board member. There you
Well,
go.
I'm only a board member here, though.
Now, that's true. No, but
the
that's a
way
good
it's-
sign.
That's the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, and that's what the maintenance staff and the custodial staff are told.
So to his credit. And,
There you
and
go.
I told him so. He said, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And I was like, "No, you actually did the right thing."
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, so I'll find out if I can, who unlocked it, but it shouldn't be unlocked like
Yeah,
that.
I had no idea. I thought we were there, so I just opened the door and walked right in. And I thought, oh, we must be here.
So that kind of ends, I mean, I don't know, unless you have any questions as committee members as to what we're looking at, but I can support.
I don't see a problem with
Is buying two extra for total 4 enough? Is that you comfortable with that number?
Yeah, I would just want one for each entrance. I think that should be enough. It didn't take long to get those. We had to get it through Mark Pelican.
Yeah, I'll get them. I'll get them ordered.
Thank you.
I'll get them ordered tomorrow.
But I wasn't gonna do that until next year. I mean, we have about 20 days, 25 days left. So we'll just continue what we were doing.
What's the status, just for the benefit of the committee now, of what are we doing right now?
We're checking every backpack at every entrance right now, and some of the kids are wanted, but we kind of stopped doing that because it goes off every time, and then we
And
have
it's
to
10
find
minutes
out
per
why it
person,
went
yeah.
off.
So you actually open the backpack? Just
Oh, yeah.
checking
Yeah.
right now, you're doing a visual and everyone
Yes.
open
Yeah,
up and,
if we can't see in it, we're opening it up.
okay.
Yep. Actually, the kids open their own book bag.
Right.
They're asked to open the book bag.
Just like at the airport.
The staff is there. They look in the book bag. Basically, the staff's hands don't go in the kid's book bag. If they need to move books or anything like that, Bill's staff moves everything inside their book bag.
And it's taken a lot of staff that, so when I have high absenteeism on a particular day, I have so many staff doing that then I had to pull them from their homeroom duties to do this, the poor entryway checks. And even though I have security, I have teachers too, but when there's a lot out, then sometimes I don't get homeroom attendance done in a particular homeroom.
We're making time on the class, though, before first class.
Yeah, we are.
So we are, okay.
Because we started letting students in the building at basically 5 after 7, because they were waiting outside anyway, so might as well get them inside.
Okay. Sounds like everybody has a handle on it. I don't see a problem. Okay.
It runs smooth.
Okay. With that, let Mr. McElmoyle for his nice
Thank you,
journey
Bill.
home.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Okay, well, facilities use is next. I will bring up a proposal I have so we can get these gentlemen moving in case they have something. I had a conversation with a client who was looking for a semi-pro football team, looking for facilities for home use. And currently last year they were at Governor Mifflin. They did approach or was approached by Blazer Midget Football. I have not heard from anyone from that organization, so this is a first. Mr. Bogros is the team owner. He's looking for 8 home games.
No, at least, no, just 4.
4?
4, yeah.
Okay, 4, excuse me. So we're looking at 4 home games. At this point, there is some playoff games. But I guess we'll let Mr. Burgos bring his presentation, and obviously after the committee, we will take it to the full board. So I might ask you to come back for that. For obviously, they're going to have questions as always.
All right.
Okay.
Let me just read something quick to give you obviously a briefing a little bit about us. Team name is the Red City Outlaws. We're established in 2010. We're a semi-pro adult football team, obviously located in Reading, PA, First County. This year is our 3rd season of operation coming up. We're coming off our first 2 seasons of at least of a 9-5 record. For our 2nd year, we finished with a conference championship. A lot of young players, a lot of players that either just graduated high school or graduated college on our team. We have a lot of local guys from obviously Reading, Exeter, Daniel Boone. We had a couple guys from Daniel Boone last year on the team. As of right now, we just finished up some tryouts and stuff like that, so we might have a couple more Daniel Boone players, just a matter of, finalizing their paperwork, et cetera, waiver forms to find out, a little bit about their background and history. Besides winning on the field, we're also winning off the field by trying to, establish ourselves in the community, trying to develop the young men that do, play for our football team, try to develop them into great players, but also great leaders in the community in Berks County itself. We're also trying to dedicate ourselves at providing an affordable atmosphere, sports entertainment for fans, in general throughout the community. We try to keep everything budgetable, kind of like price-wise in regards to tickets, kind of like high school. We don't ticket you $10, $15, $20. Our players don't get paid. They do this for either the love of the game. Some of the guys do it because they want to get some extra game film for themselves to show to colleges that might not be able to, take a look at them while they were in high school. And some of the other guys actually do use it also to try to get to a higher level. Arena players, obviously you have the Reading Express that, are locally there in Reading. And I do have a couple of players actually that play there that are a part of our football team in the summer. So it does help, either way for guys to develop themselves as a football player, but also get themselves involved in the community. We've also been involved in charitable events such as Twist for Tots or flag football when it comes down to Christmas, especially bodybuilding. We've done fundraiser games in which this is what the topic is about. But we've done fundraiser games which obviously all proceeds of that day's game went to the local youth sports organization of that area. And I mean by that area is because our first year we did, we did Exeter Youth Football. We also did Kutztown Cougars football. We actually had 2 games there. I don't know what their budget is in regards to spending, but according to the president at that time after the first game, they basically made all their money back on just food and then some, just off of the first game. I don't ask figures because that's something that's more private in regards to that organization. But I was happy to hear that, and unfortunately, we were able to do only one other game just because the field is grass. And, you know, obviously with youth football, using it for practice and games, the field does kind of get beat up if it's grass. And, you know, we were able to be blessed to play there. And other stuff, we do involve ourselves with our first year. We did mini camp for kids. You know, we did something real simple. You know, 2-day camp for kids. You know, got a lot of our players involved. You know, like a lot of people didn't know who we were. Obviously, semi-pro is not too popular, I guess, out in this area of Berks County, as I found out. There was other previous teams that tried it. Unfortunately, they didn't last as long. Don't know why. You know, I didn't have anything in regards to do with them, so I don't know. But when we came up with the idea of doing it, we wanted to be able to not only have a good team, but also be involved in the community somehow, especially with the youth program. Hence the reason we talked to Daniel Boone Youth Football. Figured, you know, you guys have a beautiful facility. If we were able to use the field, obviously, in return, any proceeds made at gate and concessions will be donated, obviously. We wouldn't want not a single dime or a penny. You know, we just want to be able to help out, you know, a youth program and need. You know, obviously, the way times are, it's a little tough, you know, to fundraise money. And I know parents, some of you obviously have kids that play sports and, you know, there's money involved and, you know, we try to help cut into that. You know, and that's basically what we were trying to do. You know, and unfortunately, I haven't heard anything. Scott hasn't heard anything from them. And, you know, I just want to be able to, you know, still have a field to play on. But I do want to propose this in regards to keeping the same thing in regards to the gate admission. You know, we don't want nothing to do with the gate. We want to be able to donate it to Daniel Boone or to whatever program that Daniel Boone decides to donate it to. You know, we just want to be able to have games that we can play at a nice facility, get supported by, you know, obviously a very nice community. And, you know, in return, we just try to help out, fundraise any money that can benefit any program of your choice. That's basically what we're trying to do. So, I mean, that's kind of sounds like I'm rambling, but that's kind of basically what I'm here trying to propose. So I don't know if you have any questions for me in regards to anything. So.
What? Yeah, just a few.
Sure.
What rules do you use? Some easy questions here for your football league. Pro, college,
NFL.
NFL rules.
Yeah, NFL.
Okay. So you play 4 15-minute quarters, the whole.
Yes.
Okay. How about officiating? Do you supply all that and?
Yeah, what it is that the league that we're involved in called the Atlantic Coastal Football Alliance, the ACFA, they have their own referees, obviously.
So they're like the charter.
They're right. They basically chart the games and all that. We're responsible for the ref fees.
Okay.
In the games. We're not asking Daniel Boone to cover any of that. That's our responsibility.
Okay, how about...
It has to do with balls, uniforms, and all that. We take care of that.
Do you have a rule for medical coverage at
For
games?
players, we actually have a guy, Combine Insurance. I don't know if anybody heard of Combine Insurance. We do have a sponsor that actually helps the players out. Technically, it's at the player's discretion whether or not they want to play this game with or without insurance.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant, is there someone on site who's like medical staff?
Oh, yeah. Well,
for games?
my wife, she's CPR certified. We also have, we had our own security who also was actually an official licensed EMT on staff with his stuff. So we used to have our trainer also who actually works for the Exeter Youth High School. And so, yeah, we do have somebody there always on staff that is, you know, medically trained in case if something happens.
Okay. What do you charge for your tickets?
What we did actually is just $5 admission. That's all we did. Basically, we did anybody 6 and older was $5. Kids 5 and under free. Any seniors 60 and over were free. Any sponsors that actually purchased, you know, helped us with sponsorships. If in their sponsorship packet, you know, involved season pass tickets, we would honor those, obviously, for the sponsors. So really, the only thing that would probably come through those gates for free would probably be the sponsors and any other, in your discretion, your rules of, you know, how much you want to charge and what you guys consider free or not. Because I want to actually keep you guys in charge of that. I told Scott I want to keep it kind of in this high school range.
Right.
So
we pretty well would follow through as we would do as our high school games.
Right.
Now, in terms of concessions, are you opening that to Daniel Boone organizations, or do you bring your people in and then just turn over the money to us? Is that how you?
No, Daniel Boone. That would be Daniel Boone.
So whatever we do for concessions, we would continue to do.
Right.
So that would end up with, right now, that would be the sports boosters and music
Right.
boosters.
Yeah, the joint operating committee.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So those proceeds, they tally up at the end, and then they split those in half.
Right.
So the only thing that you're expecting to walk away with is what you sell in your shirts and hats and.
Just shirts and hats or any type. Sometimes we do raffles. You know, we get the fans involved with
Oh, that's-
raffles,
yeah, I get that.
prizes. You know, stuff like that, which obviously helps us benefit with any other operation costs, whether it be put money towards a bus for our away games, whether it be the next game's ref fees. You know, we just try to put everything that we do gain out of that type of stuff or any fundraising outside of the games back into the team for those expenses. You know, footballs, footballs take a beating, obviously, you guys are familiar with sports, stuff, anything that the team needs, that's pretty much where the money goes right back into, so that way we're able to operate as professionals, even though we're not getting paid for this.
And one thing we discussed earlier, I mean, obviously, with the stadium, the way it presents itself right now, obviously it's got to, people come in, and when they leave, it's got to look the same way.
Absolutely.
You discussed, you have personnel that do sweep.
Yes,
stands?
we have our own volunteer personnel, which it's just players, either wives, just people in general that want to help out with the football team. What we did with Governor Mifflin was to cut down the charges, obviously, of the custodial, to help the custodian out as he picks up the field in regards to pylons, field markers. We just came about together and we just helped clean up the entire facility before we left. That's what we did. That's kind of what we're offering, again, to help out with that, with those costs, where you guys don't have to obviously get an extra 2 or 3 extra custodians to do that job. We can actually do that ourselves. So we got our player, you can ask Mike here, who's also an alumni. We actually had some players get involved. It's another way of kind of giving back and saying thank you for allowing us to use the facility. That's kind of how we take it.
Do you have right now these 4 home games? Are they what you emailed me earlier? The September 22nd, 29th, and the 20th you have down.
Yeah, there's 2 dates actually that changed. Right now we have Saturday, August 25th, that we would like to have Saturday, September 22nd, Saturday, October 6th, and Saturday, October 20th. Obviously, we would like to have the games on Saturday if possible, as long as it doesn't interfere with any damaging activity with the use of the stadium.
25th.
All the games, if possible, once again, like I said, if possible, we're willing to work with you guys. We would like to have kickoffs maybe like at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., something like
Okay.
that. Playoffs, if everything goes well, pending weather. I know last year we had a hurricane situation that kind of pushed everything back a couple weeks. If everything is on point, you're looking at probably Saturday, November 3rd is when playoffs would start. Now, I can't tell you, obviously, if we're going to have home playoff games. It all depends on our record and seeding and et cetera. So there could be a maximum of at least 1 to 3, minimum 1, but maximum 3 home playoff games if we happen to be the team with the better record and we continue to advance. So there's a potential here between a minimum of 4 games until you're looking at about 7 to 8 games. That's probably where you got that number from.
Right.
So that I have to give you that figure so that way you have, just in case if we do advance in playoffs, then we have a better record.
Do we ever have PIAA games on Saturdays, Ken, for playoffs?
No.
So that's always on a Friday night.
Yep. It's all Friday night.
Okay.
Yep.
What about the use of locker rooms? Do you need to go in the building and actually use the locker rooms?
Don't need it. Don't necessarily need it, especially on our end. Our guys usually come half dressed as it is. My guys, they know how I try to do things. Obviously, we're not trying to get dressed in public. Obviously, you don't know who's watching, whose child is watching. Things happen, by accident. I don't want to do that. I'm a very guardian about that. I got kids myself, so what we try to do is with the away team, once we figure out the grounds, where they can park if they come in a bus or if they come in cars, we kind of try to set something up where they can go ahead and be changed in private if they need to change in private. We'll figure something out maybe in a parking lot or in a different setting away from the stadium where they're allowed to park their vehicle or bus and be able to change, privately away from any fans, spectators, stuff like that. So that's the reason why we don't our league doesn't necessarily require locker rooms. Some leagues do, it's mandatory, some leagues don't. They all understand it's about a budget system. So a lot of teams can't afford locker rooms to be able to, every district is different on what they charge by opening locker rooms and school buildings and stuff like that. So it's, it's not mandatory.
Okay. Well, obviously, we looked at your liability insurance. We're up to about $6 million on coverage with that. I can't make a copy of this. If you want to hang on to this, and maybe if you want to scan and just shoot me an email with it,
Okay.
that'll work good. And
Well, this would just be done through the facilities use request form,
right.
pretty much. I mean, that governs all of our uses of facilities.
So,
What I'd have to do is, I don't know if the fall schedule is made up yet
Right.
for the high school sports. I'd have to get with the athletic director and see what dates these coincide with anything that comes up. Usually by this time, like the middle of May, end of May, they usually have them all made up. Berks County officials do, and I'll be able to check with her. And your game help, you supply security, you said?
Yeah, we supply our own certified security. They're certified, licensed, trained. Like I said, a couple of them guys are obviously EMTs or volunteer firefighters. So,
Right.
We have guys that are available, like I said, in case of something happens accident-wise. We haven't had any incidents, on the field, serious enough, obviously, for any injuries. Obviously, we know it's a violent sport. Things can happen at any given time. And we haven't had any serious situations at all with any fans, in general. So, I'm pretty confident on our security. Now, obviously, depending on how many fans we have, et cetera, the good thing about the people that we deal with is that they're able to pick up the phone and say, hey, we need like 1 or 2 more guys here to make sure we have enough security, depending on the crowds, and stuff like that.
How many teams are in your league?
Going into this fall, they're doing interviews now for fall teams. Right now, you're looking at about at least 16.
16 teams?
Yeah.
Like where?
Ranging from as far as New Jersey all the way down to Maryland.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. You'll have a couple teams.
No offense, never heard of you guys.
No, that's fine. I get that sometimes, but that's fine. We're trying to just progress as we go along.
Uh-huh. How many years are you into this?
This is our 3rd year coming
Third
up.
year.
Yeah, we just started actually practicing in May 1st.
And how many players are you allowed to carry on your team?
I think they're doing NFL rules, which is, I believe is a 53-man roster.
Does each team have 53 guys?
Not each team, because what happens is that there's a lot of teams, like for example, say New Jersey, big state, have, let's say, a minimum of 20 teams. And when you spread the talent out, you don't get as many players, obviously, on one team. We're blessed that between us, Allentown, Lancaster, I'm able to collect a decent amount of players. Same as Lancaster, they are able to collect a decent amount of players, but they don't really have people challenging them for, territory. So right now, as we speak, I have about 50 players.
So do you have them all ages, like post-high school, 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s?
18 is the minimum. I believe our oldest guy, I don't know how old Bob is, but 30-something. We had in our first year, we had a guy, well, this is the kicker. We had
Oh, no, wait a minute. Kickers, though. That's
we
all
had
right.
a gentleman, he was actually in his late 40s and early 50s, and he played fullback.
No, I'm not. I never played
Who
football.
was that?
His name is Julian. He didn't play a lot, but he was on the roster. He just loved, that's what I say about these guys, just love playing the game. It kind of brings their little kid in them from high school, and, that's what it's all about. That's why it's fun to see sometimes guys like that, get a chance to play. Obviously wins are good, wins help out, but it's good to see older guys, guys like Mike, sitting there watching the old man run around with the ball and, wow, 40-plus-year-old man still doing something with himself, besides obviously working a 9 to 5.
I might have to come to
supporting
one of
his
these
children.
games.
So, it's cool. It's a cool thing.
Anchor, you said this is your 3rd year. Where the first couple of years, where did you play your games at?
Our first year, obviously, we were originally in Mifflin. We played a couple games there in Mifflin. And then between me and my general manager, we came up with this idea of doing fundraiser games for youth programs. So obviously, I got on the horn, started calling those programs, and they thought it was a great idea. We did a couple games. So like I said, we bounced around from Kutztown, not at the high school. They had a public park. They had the old-style goalpost. I believe he's shaking his head like he knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Yeah, Cougars, Kutztown Cougars. We did one in Fleetwood. Only thing with Fleetwood is it wasn't for the kids. It was, I believe, the gate went to the athletic department, but the boosters kept the concessions. That's kind of how that worked with Fleetwood High School.
That's what would happen here.
Yeah, and we did that. We did
want the
Exeter.
gate.
Actually, we did 2 games in Exeter. They were both playoff games for us in Exeter, and that benefited boosters at concession, and it benefited the gate for the Exeter youth football.
Well, why, if it's a great deal for Boone, why isn't it still a great deal for Governor Mifflin? I mean, what was,
Well,
why did you leave?
Mifflin, I brought the idea to Mifflin, to the table, to the athletic director, Pat. He just did not want to do that at that point in time. He just wanted to have, obviously, our organization just pay out of pocket for whatever they charged for the facility plus custodians. I threw it at him a couple times, and he just, did not want to do that. I'm not going to argue with the man. I still want to keep that relationship with Mifflin. I don't have an issue with Mifflin. Mifflin has no issues with me. So I just wanted to go back home in regards to keeping it at Mifflin, But on top of that, with the economy and everything and trying to get sponsors, businesses are not kind of giving up as much money as they were our first season. So we're not able to basically luxurize our players with nice buses and nice, really looking uniforms, etc., and footballs. We had to kind of really budget everything. And like I said, it's not Mifflin's fault. That's something that they wanted to do and just charge us. That's fine. We went along with it, and that's where we played our games last year at. So it was a challenge. We got the job done. I just felt that, I just still think, for me personally, I still think it's a good idea, to benefit. Why not help out and raise money for something? Good cause. Whoever school district is willing to allow us to do that. And that's what
So your expectation is then, if I'm hearing this correctly, is to waive the usage fee
yes,
in exchange for the concessions
concessions
And
and
gates.
gates.
and gate. Okay.
With Mifflin, was that a wash at the end of the day? The fee for every game versus what
Well, we'd
you
have
were
to ask
taking
Mifflin
in?
that. He wouldn't know that.
Well, if you're talking about how much I profited off of that, I actually came out with a loss every time because they kept charging me with the custodian extra, and that's what was killing me. And then they were trying to charge me again for the fees for the cleaning up, and that's when I threw the idea of, hey, can we clean up for you? Can we help out with the cleanup?
Kenny, do you have the facilities?
And that's what killed that. I mean, you're looking at about almost $300 just for, to clean up the field, at least, for them. So what we did was we just budgeted and said, well, that's $1,200, $1,500 for a 5-game home game season. I said, well, you know what, let's budget. So that was another way for us to budget, was to be able to help out. So we took that $1,500 hit aside so that way we weren't able to get hit with that. So we were able to pay for the facilities for 5 home games.
Were you using their lockers at that time? No, that was just
So you
outside.
dealt with Pat up there?
Yes, Pat.
Yeah, I know Pat.
So we would be basically, if you're looking for how many games?
Minimum 4, at least. Like I said, if we have a better record and higher seed and the playoffs come around and we're the one hosting playoff games, you're looking at a minimum of 1 extra playoff game, maximum 3 if we continue to advance as the higher seed.
So you're looking at us to waive about $2,000 worth of costs because it's $500 a use, right? Right.
Is that what
Yeah.
charges are?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we're at a Category 3 usage, which is around $500
Okay.
per game.
And that's not including, obviously, any staff members and personnel that needed to be at those games, right?
Right.
That's just a flat fee for the use of the facility.
How
Yeah.
did that compare to, say, Mifflin last year? What were they? If you don't mind asking, what were they charging?
Basically, you're looking at, give or take, I think a few dollars here, about $875 to $900 a game for 4 custodians.
Before custodial. Now,
So you're
with
looking
the
at about
custodial,
$1,100 to $1,200 for the custodian.
with the cleanup, you say, I'd still bring a guy on to basically as a point person, a groundskeeper who does it down there.
Sure.
Then you would have the staff to help him clean the restrooms, to help carry the trash up from the concession stands, totally sweep all the bleachers.
Right.
I mean, would you actually even need the other side of our bleachers? Could everybody sit on the home side? So you wouldn't have to clean up the wayside or.
We can do that. We can set up a way. We say, hey, we don't want anybody to use our visitor. Let's say our visitor side.
Well, the other team could stand on the sidelines.
Well, no, that's
but
fine.
you're not.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, league rules. I mean, this is why I present this to our league board members and say, hey, anybody that comes play us, visitors are allowed, obviously, on their sideline, or any staff that they have, coaching staff, medical staff. That's fine. But any fans must stay on the home side, even if they have to sit on the other side, or on the other side of the bleachers. I guess on one side, that's fine to keep the cleanup. I guess
Because we
down,
see
so.
1,300 on one side.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We should be fine with that. Yeah.
And that would save us the household cleaning 2 areas up. If you're only bringing 200-300 people in,
Right.
we concentrate on one area, the restrooms,
Right.
concession stand, and clean it up real quick.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have more space than you would need. Our stadium, with people walking around, holds what, Kenny, 5,000 people?
Yeah, we've had 5,000 in there already.
No, I agree. I think that makes sense. I mean, like I said, we're all doable with that, and that's something that I have to make sure to press on, et cetera. If we add security to that, make sure security understands that, so we're all be on the same page with that.
So, I guess with this, we need to take this to the,
Well,
obviously,
the board would have
to
to
the board.
waive Category 3 costs and we'd probably have to work out some contract
right.
to get this waived.
Let me check with the athletic director tomorrow and see if she has a master schedule. We have the fall sports.
Because are there soccer games sometimes on Saturday nights?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'd rather have you play without the lights
Okay.
during the afternoon.
So that's something more in the afternoon that you're looking at, possibly, I guess, when we start daylight savings, looking at maybe
Right.
like a 2:00 kickoff, something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything.
Because
to
it's
save
going to
cost.
cost us if we turn the lights on.
Okay.
Now, are there any, this special shoes that should be worn? Like, they can't wear spikes or anything like that? Oh, they can on our new shoes?
You can wear
You can wear whatever you
half
want?
inch. You know what I mean?
Okay.
These guys you're not allowed to wear 3/4, are you? Half inch is fine on our turf. I mean,
I don't think there's too many guys wear 3/4 anymore, to be
No.
honest with you, unless they're playing in grass and the
Right.
grass is wet.
Right.
Obviously.
All we ask is
But-
half
No,
inch
our field
spikes.
can take,
You know what I mean? Molded cleats.
Well, I usually
whatever.
recommend players,
That-
if
that-
you're playing
that
on
turf
turf,
is really
try to
tough.
get molded cleats.
Molded
just
cleats
'cause
would
they're
be
a lot-
nice.
Yeah.
you can wear spike high heels and that, it's not going to hurt it.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking wear and tear.
I always tell my players, never baseball cleats and never metal cleats. I don't care if it's at practice, I don't care if it's at a game, nothing like that.
Nobody wears metal cleats on AstroTurf, do they, Kenny?
So. You'd be
They have
Be
little
surprised.
metal caps on the bottom of them. They're
Oh,
not
okay.
actually metal. They're the screw-in type, but little metal caps on the bottom of them. But they're actually plastic.
Yeah.
Where are you going to practice?
Right now, we're practicing actually at a residential development, believe it or not. I talked to their director there, and she just thought it was a great idea of kind of like showing a positive outlook to that community, because there's a lot of kids, obviously, and a lot of families there financially, struggling. So they see us practicing there. You get kids at the practice talking to our players, mingling with the players, getting autographs with the players. It's just all about positive, and that's kind of what I try to do. It's something unheard of. If you really know semi-pro football, a lot of teams don't really do this, and I just felt kind of go against the grain with a lot of it, and so far it's worked for us for going on 3 years. So I'm a firm believer, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's how I am.
Okay, I guess we have some work on our end to review this, and then we'll bring this to the committee of the whole, the board, and obviously go through a barrage of questions.
Now, do you have a website or anything that we can look up anything?
Yes, I do have a website.
Because I don't see any address or phone number or anything on it.
You Google that under Red City
If you
Outlaws.
look into
If
it,
you
yeah,
Google
it, it'll right
it'll
up.
pop up. Yeah, it'll
Okay.
pop up right away and stuff like that. You'll see a team picture, all the info, bio history of the team, see some photos in there, updates on what's going on next.
Your team picture last year, was that taken at Albright?
Which one?
Uh,
The all-white picture? No,
Yeah.
that was actually at our. We had a preseason game in Scranton,
Yeah.
and that game was televised up north through Comcast. So we just took advantage of us wearing our white jerseys up there and using their facility. Scranton Memorial Stadium, I don't know if anybody's
Okay.
familiar with that stadium, but.
My wife's
that's
from
where we
Scranton.
That's where we.
I know where
took
that
the
is.
picture of
Okay.
Yeah, so it came out pretty nice. We used it as a picture there.
Yeah, that did work nice.
Crazy about football up there.
Okay. Mike, you want to give that to that back?
So I'll just go ahead and scan that for you.
Yeah, scan that, send that to me, and then we can get together, and I'll keep you updated here so we can get this, come up with some kind of positive answer on this.
Sounds good.
Okay,
And
thank
on
you.
the times, I'm flexible. Just let me know what you think is best.
All right.
You know.
I think that was sort of a concern, too, if we could try to get this thing through with cost savings of no lights. That
Right. We can also do, I didn't mention it, but we also, like I said, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but we can also do Sunday games as well.
Well, right
they
now,
just can't kick off.
see, we have
before
to,
2
we
o'clock,
have to also look at the Blazer midget football because
Right.
I know they have a lot of games on our stadium this year.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of where, you know, we can slot you in.
Sounds good.
Is your schedule flexible?
Yes.
Okay.
I just came here with the basis.
Right.
So that way you guys
Right.
have an outline, and then whatever needs to be moved around, it should not be an issue.
he was very willing to work with the schedule.
Yeah. As long as we know what's going on, obviously on your end, and vice versa communication, it makes it easier for me to tell our board and our league and everything and say, hey, look, these are the dates available here, and basically that's how they go by. You know, it's kind of like a first come, first serve. If you have a team that already has their stuff together, they're going to abide by that because they want to make sure that those dates are, you know, viable for those teams.
Right.
Yeah, so we're flexible with the whole.
Okay. We'll be in touch, hopefully,
I
shortly.
guess keep me posted on.
I'll give you a call.
Any dates or anything?
Yep.
Yeah, give me a call.
We can do that.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hector.
See, Mike, you have to do it.
See you, Mike.
See ya.
See Booby Red.
Mm-hmm. You play with my son.
He handles some of the marketing for them
Oh,
in
okay.
the office.
Well, as a marketer, he didn't really have a lot to say.
Yeah,
That's Mike. He's always been a good
He
kid.
was support. He was
Absolutely.
support
He was
system.
big. He's going what he said.
Yeah.
He's a good kid.
okay, I guess now the
That
next,
sounds
yeah, I think
Interesting.
that would be,
really
yeah, that
nice.
was-
a good group
I
of
think,
people trying to do some nice things.
Yeah, that's talk
Well,
about
it's just-
things you don't know. I
it's just
had
gonna
no
be-
clue
It's
they
just
were.
going to be the thing of waiving that fee.
yeah.
You know, it's.
Do you make it up later than now?
I mean, so you let one person out of it. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's $500, right?
Well, it's 500 times every time they're here.
Every time they
Right.
come, right?
And basically, if they need one grounds person down there, basically you're looking at probably another $120. So there's.
Every time they come?
Mhm.
Not every hour or anything, just 120
No,
a day? So
no,
it's-
they just get their hourly rate. And I'd have to have someone there with the restrooms and the grinder pump if something would go wrong. They're not going to know what to do.
You don't want them
No.
touching that
Right.
stuff.
I don't want them touching that stuff.
I wonder how much we make off of concessions on for a normal game.
For a normal football game?
They,
I mean, I've no,
at the Wilson game, I think the boosters split $6,000-7,000.
so could somehow, and I don't know if you're allowed to do this, are you allowed to take a percentage of that and put it back on the,
Well,
was that,
it's
no?
No.
Okay.
I
Put it
don't
back
need
on what, Kenny?
Well, you
Or-
just
Take a
take the
percentage and
concessions
basically
that the
give it to them,
boosters.
like if they say, well, we don't want anything,
Well,
you
say-
could say,
say
I'll
if
give
you-
you 10% of the
10%
No.
taken off would go. The question is everyone going to be positive with that agreement, and are you going to have enough
People there.
people there to
Offset.
man the booth, or from sports boosters or music boosters?
This is what I figure.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum you'll get, if there's 50 guys on each team, each person will probably bring a half to 3/4 of a person when you do the math. So you're probably going to get close to just, no matter what, 75 to 100 people showing up. And then there are fans that come and follow them.
Right.
You might count on 3/4 of a person
They
or
said on
less.
average 200 spectators.
200 spectators at $5 a pop.
Yeah, but they're counting, I'm telling you, they're counting those people that come along with them that are like friends and family as
Yeah, I know.
spectators.
But if they pay $5,
No.
But he just said they're sponsors and kids under.
Well,
Six.
what he stated.
You're not going to get 200 ticket
Well,
sales.
our early discussion was we were going to base it on what Daniel Boone's athletics do right now, what we charge, not based on what he charges. Our policy.
Well, I
Our
think that would
policy
be a
is
given.
$6.
That would be a
and
given.
He was fine with that.
It's
So-
stadium admission. This is what you pay to get
So-
into this stadium.
Obviously, 200. You'd like to say be different if it was 500 people, and who knows for some playoff games if it would happen, it could be more.
They're not ever going to draw 500 people to one of these games.
well, if we help promote it, it might.
That's why
I
I'd like to
mean-
know what their experience was with,
I was-
with Governor Mifflin, because I have a feeling
You
they
wanna-
may have
you wanna give a
talked to
call?
them also, and
I'm going to give
it started
Pat.
out as a great idea, but it wound up the district was probably pumping a lot of money, and that's why they decided, well,
I'm
we
going
want
to
something
give Pat
guaranteed.
Tully a call.
Yeah.
You know, we know Pat really well. We can call Mifflin and get the lowdown on it.
I'll get the lowdown.
That's easy. We can find out, what their pros and cons with it were. Mifflin's always willing to share information with us.
Obviously, I'd like to find out. Okay, obviously they were paying a fee. Then obviously, the gate, where the gate fees, concessions. How did they channel and handle all that? Did that?
You wanted them to do everything just like we.
Well, I'm
We're
saying
gonna
what
do.
Governor Mifflin, they paid an $875 fee for every game.
Right.
So now, what did Governor Mifflin achieve out of that besides the $875? Did they get
But
concessions?
when did Mifflin take the concessions then, or did their group
Right.
take the concessions?
That's
Because he
it.
said it was a loss. My guess is it flipped. That Mifflin figured they were going to make more by charging them for the use of the field.
My guess is with the union they have or whatever they got up there, they probably had, I would say, 4 to 6 custodial groundskeepers at the stadium. I guarantee you.
Who did?
Mifflin. I'll call Pat tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll find
we'll
out.
do the research so that
I can almost guarantee you.
I think one positive note, you'd have a lot of kids walk in from town to go see the game. I mean, gives them something to do.
I think you got to be willing to accept minimal intake here. You're not going to get a lot of money on this one.
No, not right away.
So,
I mean, that's a decision the board can make.
yeah, it's out there, and
Yep.
see what happens.
Yep.
Okay. Well, with that, let's come right into Mrs. Hamill with the circus.
Well, the circus, actually, I'm glad you brought this. I was trying to find it when I looked at on the website. I was looking for this.
We knew you'd need it tonight. See, we're smart.
Yeah, I know you guys are. I put everything together for how the circus would run. According to, after we left, I got a call from Monday. I got a call from the EBBA, which is the Eastern Berks Business Alliance, and they would like me to come and present to them the whole idea with the circus and everything, with the community being involved. Because I wanted to find an organization that would actually run it for us, not just, sponsor it. So I put together everything. After reading a lot on the sunshine laws, I came up with the Sunshine Festival, just for a name for the festival. If they don't like it, then they can change what I've done. But basically it has here, join us for family entertainment, food, games, and information from businesses that care about our community and schools. This event showcases businesses partnering with the talented youth of Daniel Boone School District with this year's exciting main attraction, King Brothers Circus. So that's basically what I'm presenting to the EBBA. And then it sets up a whole protocol of how they would run the circus with, it's a three-part event. One is local businesses can actually sponsor money for the event. The second part is the Daniel Boone Youths, all the different organizations, the Odyssey of the Mind, the Chess Club, the Track, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any group that wants to be part of this fundraiser can set up an activity at the event. they can earn, they'll fundraise for their own organization. Whatever money they make, they keep. The money that the school will get back is through the sponsoring from businesses. There's a three-part way in which the business could sponsor this. They can either sponsor it by, option number one I have is they can sponsor this by donating $100 or more. If they donate $100 or more, they get on a banner or a T-shirt, depending on how this works. And then they're offered a display table. The day of the event, they can either put up a tent or a table at the event and just give information about their business. That's one way they could help us out, by giving $100 or more. The option number two is they just have a table. They pay for the space for a table. It's a two-part table. The card table size is $25. A larger display table is $40. So they would just give us that money the day of the event. They would then set up their table. Once again, they're not selling. This isn't a craft show. They're not selling a bunch of stuff. They're just giving information out. The third option, if a company wants to sponsor, which would make it easier, is it's a business card display rack. And I've seen it at other places where they give you 20 cards, a business will give you 20 cards, and they donate $20. The day of the event, you just hang their cards on this display rack. When the cards are gone, they're gone. You don't replenish them. If they want to give you 40 business cards, then they pay $40. So, and once again, you just display them. So that's going on separate from the circus. The circus is what's going to bring more people in the day of the event, but this other fundraiser all goes to the school. So everything that we make that day will go to school, other than the youth will get their own. Like they'll fundraise. If they make $100, they get $100. And that's basically how this is set up.
So any club activity through the school, basically that would come back to the school?
No, to the
or
group.
back to the
It'll
club?
go to the club.
In other words, if you as Odyssey of the Mind want to show up there that day and do something to raise money.
Right, throw a ball at
Sell
kids.
something. Offer advice, whatever it is you want to do for a price.
They want to do an activity is what we want them to do.
Do you have a list of the activities that they can do?
I made a list of different activities. They could do face painting, dunk tank, throw the ball at the can. I mean,
It's like an elementary school fair.
yeah, the kids
Like
would
May
have.
Days?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
kids
get
would
it.
have to come up with their activity,
Right.
and then
Like ping pong ball toss in the fish bowl.
exactly. It's just for the kids. The way I thought of it is the circus is going to draw in the younger kids to go to the circus. So the activities will be something for younger kids to do, but the older kids will run it. So it's more like the older kids are getting involved.
This is sort of like we did, let's go back, in Birdsboro at the old school up on the hill,
May Days.
in the park. And we
It's
would
like what Exeter
we would
does
give
in May Day.
We'd sell
In
tickets.
the parking lot.
Yeah, and they had
The
it all out
playground.
there in the macadam. Yeah.
Exeter does a May Day every, I think it's this weekend, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
This weekend or
it's just-
next weekend.
Yeah, so I mean, the activities would be, and the way I was looking at, because you said maybe it would work at the middle school, is once I find out if the Business Alliance want to run with the idea, because part of the problem when I talk to our business manager might be writing checks. Because if we go out and sell tickets and we have to write Daniel Boone School District and then deposit it into an account that's set up for just the fair, then the day of the fair we have to do a settlement with the circus, and then you would have to write a check from the
That
school
money.
back to them. So what I was trying to find is if someone wants to do like as soon as I figure out who's going to do it, where the checks are going to go, they're going to deal with the money, and we'll do a settlement with the circus afterward. But all of the sponsoring will come in and we keep it. There won't have to be another check written. The only check we have to write out is back to the circus when we settle, because we're collecting all the money and then giving them back 60%.
Is there some kind of written contract that would be presented to us for protection? I mean, in terms of...
Well, they sent us a contract. It's very vague. And then they sent me an email regarding what the percentage breakdown was.
Yeah, I mean, something, we gotta have something in
Right.
writing that would
Right,
specify these
yeah,
things.
this is what I had
Can't
the
just be a
email.
handshake.
No, it's not gonna be a handshake. They sent us a contract
Okay.
and then
No,
we
I
have to
hadn't,
fill it
so
out.
you've seen that already?
Yeah,
Okay. Because all we have is that little handout that you gave us.
yeah, and since then I've written up how, because I have a feeling if the Business Alliance wants to help with this, they wanna help mainly because we're coordinating with businesses and getting more businesses in. My idea was we start getting a list of all these businesses on our end. Then when we open the foundation, we then have a database for people to ask money for the foundation. So it's kind of like getting people involved early, and we can go back to them next year, and then next year, and start getting the community
So
involved.
say if you have it at the middle school, are we setting tables up in the halls?
No, everything I thought was going to be outside.
Outside.
What do you do if it rains?
There's an option here to bring a tent, which a tent actually costs a little bit more money. But if
Doesn't have to
the
be a big
individual
tent.
wants to set up a tent, they can only bring
Well,
two
like a
types of
pop-up.
tents.
Yeah, it was easy up.
Easy up.
Yeah, they can bring a
The
10
small
by
10 by
10
10.
or a 12
I
by
see what you're
12.
saying. We're not talking like these big tents where
No.
you pound into
No.
the...
We're not supplying any tents, we're not supplying tables. The
Well, that's where my head went,
individuals-
sorry.
Every,
Rolling it into the asphalt.
yeah, all of the people bring their own tables, tents, whatever information they want to bring for only information about their company. They can't
So-
be selling stuff.
Could you go back and review that first aspect that you talked about?
Option one.
Well, no, the sponsor stuff. How does that work?
The sponsor opportunities would be option one. You would have someone go out and sell, if you give $100 to the school, a donation.
So let's use
Or more.
Mascaro. Say Mascaro wanted to give this, they write a check out to Daniel Boone.
That's where we don't know yet.
Oh,
That's
okay.
where the EBBA, if they want to do this, they can have all the checks written to them.
And
And then they turn around and give us one check at the end. So it's cleaner.
so would we need an agreement from them to do that? I mean, couldn't they conceivably say, thank you, we'll take this
No,
money?
we would have to write up a contract.
Okay.
An agreement.
All right.
And when I meet with them on Thursday, I have a meeting with them on Thursday at 12, they want to hear the whole idea, because if they decide to help run it, they're not only going to have 21 companies on their list right away that might donate to us,
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
then we could start out, a couple $1,000s right away from it.
So they would, so in turn for their donating money, what do they want back? Is it that T-shirt
EBBA?
or?
Yeah, they would get a T-shirt.
No, in other words, if let's say I'm the Gary Otto, painting business.
Right.
And you come to me and I say, I'll throw 500 in there. What do I get for my 500?
You'll get on the banner, or on the T-shirt, depending on what we decide. You'd be able to set up a table at no extra cost or a tent, so
So
you're
I
able to
could,
go to
so in
the
other words,
event.
I could bring my pictures of all the houses I've painted and like get free advertising, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
I gotcha. I'm sorry to be so deliberate. I just need to conceptualize this.
No,
It's
that's
not-
fine. That's why
It's the
I.
same thing we do like a golf outing. Same
Right.
thing.
No, I'm just trying to get my head around how this would work.
I was trying to make it for the larger company that can afford $100 or more. Drawing in smaller businesses, like a photographer. Well, I have a friend who teaches CPR, and I brought this up to her. I said, how much would you spend for a table? She said, oh, $25, $30. For a card table to set up for a couple hours? She said, sure, that sounds great. So I figured $25 for one individual person to just come out with a card table. And they set it up and give us $25. So it's just a matter of how big of a table, how much of a space. The bigger the space they want, the more they pay.
So the sponsors.
What are we going as far as you're saying space there? What are we going? One parking space?
Well, I would have to measure it out, because I was thinking I would have to go to the school, measure out where we thought it would fit the best, figure out how many spaces we could actually sell. This is what they do at craft shows.
Yeah.
And they
More-
measure
I'm
out.
We do that with the Optimist,
Yeah.
right?
I do this with the community days.
Right.
I do it with the Optimist and the craft fair.
So if I put down here the measurements is a 34 by 34, which is a standard card table.
3.5, almost 3 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah, I put 34 by 34 inches.
I mean, if you did a parking
A
slot,
3 by 3.
sort of like what the Boy Scout troop, my son's troop did,
For community.
Well, for 597,
Right.
the car show.
Right.
They had a whole one side near the tennis courts. That was nothing but game tables,
And that's where we have the
And-
power.
and that's where the power is. So you set everything up right
Well,
in that
actually,
area.
what I told people so far is we're not giving you electricity, because then you don't have to run cords, you don't have to worry about people tripping.
What's the hours this event would happen so that we wouldn't need lights?
What I have to do is, it would be during the day,
Yeah,
because
because there's only,
there's only 2 shows, a 2 o'clock and a 4 o'clock show. So what I was
And
gonna.
how long are the shows?
They're an hour and a half.
So still light by natural
Yeah.
selection.
But what I'm going to find out from the actual circus is when will their food stand be set up, and when will they be set up? Because we don't want to try to get everybody setting up at one time, and we have to figure out logistically when people come for
So they roll in with their own food.
they do everything. Yep,
Would you allow anyone else to come in, or are they saying their food only?
their food only.
I can understand that.
Yes,
That's
it's
where
their
that's
food,
that
that's where they're
big
gonna
money
make their
maker.
money.
That's a big money maker.
On here, they say you cannot, they're exclusive to the concessions, merchandise in which they're selling, and that's it. They're not going to do rides this time or anything like that. So their concession stand and their merchandise, and they ask that we don't compete with merchandise. So like, if they're selling red noses, which I have to figure out whether they're selling red noses, but if they're selling red noses, we can't sell red noses.
Do we get a percentage of anything that they sell?
Only ticket sales. We
Just
get
ticket sales.
40% of advanced ticket sales and 10% of day of sale.
And what, if there's no rides, what are the actual acts of the circus? I mean, what's the draw?
Well, they have tons of acts. If you look on their website, they have all their different acts. That's why they have a pony, which came up the other night, and they use a dog. But the acts are like people swinging all over the place, jumping through. I mean, it's a regular circus. It's just,
so
I
basically.
mean, but there's no trapeze and that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
they have all this apparatus that they use. But it's all, they set it all up. They come in 8 trucks, and they put everything up. They take everything down.
How about as far as like the people that are going to come to set this up? Okay, I don't know, when Einzie rolls into town with his carnival, you've seen it here, are the type of people that they bring in for this carnival.
Well,
I mean, are they going to have all their clearances and?
yeah, they have, well, if you have questions like that, I
I'm
haven't
just
called
asking-
the
I'm-
owner yet, because the owner, I was going to say, because once we finalize if we're even going to have it, then I will go ahead. But yeah, from what I understand,
That's going to be a big concern with myself, as
I mean-
far as do they have any kind of security or background checks?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
going into a school.
Okay,
It's going to be a school function on school
Yeah.
property.
right,
You know,
for one day.
yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter though. I mean, they're
Smoking.
gonna
It just
Drinking.
leaves us open for
Drinking.
liability. I mean.
well, that's a given. There's
Well,
no
that's
smoking.
what I
in here.
asked
No.
them at one time was what, like, I didn't want to put it this way, but what are these people like?
Yeah,
Is that
I mean,
your
No, I think that's a
concern?
that's
what
a
I'm
legitimate
Okay.
question.
And they
You know.
said what they told me was it's a good bunch of guys. They all, I don't,
Good bunch of guys versus having clearances.
I get down to Tim's Ugly Mutton, you'll find a good bunch of guys.
I mean, I can ask that if they have all their clearances. I mean, I didn't
I
think
would-
they
Well, no,
asked
I think
the clearance part,
I think
criminal
we-
If you
background.
mention that, they're gonna tell you what they have at that point.
I think. Well,
I mean-
we would need evidence of them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to need to see that they have them. I mean, I can
If
consult
we need
with.
that, I can ask
Well, no,
the
let
owner.
me just talk with Brian Supers tomorrow. Now that I understand that, because that's not something I thought of asking him at this point.
That's my biggest concern. If we're bringing something in like that, and just with all the kids that are going to be there and everything.
Yeah, it'll draw.
you know,
I would
oh
guess
my-
this
oh
would
my
draw
God.
pretty well.
That's my biggest concern.
Well, all
But,
I gotta do
we
is
were-
ask them what type of clearance
We were
did these
approached
people
already
carry?
about having like different people, set up like little carnivals up at the high school and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And this was years and years ago, and we didn't do it because we knew what type of people would be rolling in.
Well, I must say, I there are some scary fellows that I see down in Birdsboro at times.
Yeah.
So,
But they're not on our
That's-
property.
That's my biggest concern because, we'll be, I have no problem with it.
I see scary
I
people
mean-
in Walmart sometimes.
well, I do too, but,
go on
I
that
can't look at
website?
someone and say, you're,
Pardon?
you
You ever go
know,
on that website?
What
I
website?
mean, I wouldn't have a
Freaks
problem
of
if they have
Walmart?
the tent and they'd be
No.
out in
Go
the
on.
field.
well, that's
I'd
next
go
year.
like-
See,
yeah.
next year they can
We'll save
have
that for
the
after the
tent.
I mean, I'd go full bore with that. I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, next year the tent
yeah.
is available. This year,
I mean, their personnel is going to be an issue. And the second, and I'm sure the board's going to say, and Mr. McCullough is going to really, how do you protect the floor?
but
Who's
that,
going to clean up the messes?
They-
Who's going to clean the halls where however they bring these animals in? Even if it's a dog, okay, fine. A horse, well,
well, it's a pony, but it's not as big of a horse. But well, here's
Actually, they do bring in a horse, a pony.
just a pony.
Is it
That-
shoed?
What?
Is
Shoe.
it shoed?
Oh, I thought you said shoot. I didn't ask him that question.
that would be
About
That'd be huge.
rubber,
okay.
iron shoe.
That'd be huge. I don't care if they're
Big
just
dent the
gonna
floor.
put, unless they put like 3/8 cattle mats down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's gonna
Well, the other thing
create
that
an issue.
we inquired with our insurance carrier about the liability, and he would suggest that this $1 million for a circus, if they're going to be flying around and stuff, is probably not enough. So you may want to ask them how far they. I mean, he was talking about.
I had gotten an email when you called me up last week, Monica. I had gotten an email from our insurance carrier, and basically he would like $5 million in liability coverage.
Okay.
To do
I mean,
this.
I don't know how companies go about increasing that, but that was his recommendation. Our policy only calls for $1 million, but I think I think the board reserves the right to increase that as needed based on recommendations that we get. That's kind of a general guideline. So
And
I
basically hold the district harmless for any and all claims, and name the district as an additional insured, demonstrate that they have workman's comp coverage, auto liability, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the email I got back from Keith Beers from our insurance company.
When we have community days and they bring in all the rides and things, what kind of insurance would we ask them to provide?
That is all done through the Optimist.
See, now that's if this other organization takes it over, then they would be responsible.
Yes.
So that would then, some of the questions you're asking me, if they say, well, we'll take full responsibility of everything, then is that a different scenario where they just have to
I
do
have
the,
no idea, Monica.
That's another.
because if the group takes over and says, we'll be responsible for everything,
That would be
then
a-
do they just fill out a facilities form and pay the $1,500 plus
Mhm.
custodial and as long
Then
as...
we would go through pretty much the same process as these guys just.
Right, and that's why I'm going to EBBA, is have them take control of all this.
Right.
So they would then come back and fill out one of these forms.
I just
Facilities
think,
use.
I would just think
Okay.
the concern that Ken raises about a pony with metal shoes is a big issue for marking up our floors. So that.
Yeah, I do know that they
Yeah,
said
because
they
we're not
were
doing that gym floor this year. The
No,
only
no.
gym floor we're doing to save on the budget and everything is the high school, the main gym floor this
Mm-hmm.
year.
I brought that up when I talked to him. I said, we cannot have our facilities ruined at all. And how do you do that? And he said, well, we hand carry everything. They don't roll anything. And they put down a nice, really secure pad throughout the gym.
Mhm.
So that was what I did
I'd want
ask
to see something in writing on the response to that.
Okay. Well, that's why.
Do we have any other schools that they performed in?
That's what I was going to call Ned about. But
I would ask that and then get a hold of those guys.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of
Talk
questions from the
to
board
Ned.
next Monday. I mean,
Yeah.
How to get in and out of the building, you know? Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, we can
floor
close off
protection.
that one section,
No, I mean,
but
to,
still,
right, I mean, as far as,
we're limiting the access to the building.
Right. That's. I figured the circus would only stay where the gymnasium is. They
Right.
can't go anywhere else
I
but
think
in and out
they've
of
probably
there.
done it before, you just you want to make sure you know everything going in.
It was nice with a car show.
Well, the clearances, the insurance, and the potential damage to the facility are three huge questions that need to be answered. So I think the rest of this, if these fundraising groups want to get involved in the advertising, I think that could really be a very positive thing, and the sponsorship and making some money there. But we have to protect our interests too in terms of the building and making sure we don't set ourselves up for something that's going to go bad. What?
You could wand the guys. If you don't, you
I know
could wand
that
them.
it's not wanding them isn't the issue.
Yeah.
It's the baggage that they bring from their past.
I just,
No, I know you're just
You may
kidding.
already be familiar with that drill.
It's a baggage, yeah.
Against the wall, you see their hands fly.
Yeah. No. Let's not be so
pop a bag and
Assume the
they'll,
position.
Let's not profile here.
Okay.
Let's find out what they have.
Okay. That's terrible. Okay, so you're going to do a little more.
I'll do a little bit more, but,
Good idea.
It would be very nice.
I think it's a good idea, and, you know,
Just getting our ducks in a row.
the circus, I think the May Days thing is a real good idea. You know, circus, I mean, I'm 50-50 on that, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, you know, but I think as far as where you're going, as far as like the May Days thing with, you know, bringing stands in and people like that, bringing the business in, I think that's a great idea.
Would we even need the circus?
I think that is a great idea.
Could we do it with the local amusement company, bringing the rides in, having these stands set up, and bring other food vendors in? You could even do
well,
that.
we could do that. This was just the big draw for that event.
Right.
Like I said, putting it together, I called it Sunshine Festival. It wasn't just for this year. It would be the festival
Right.
for next year, the next year, the next year.
And I understand that. I understand.
This was just this year's event.
My biggest concern, Monica, to be honest with you, my biggest concern is having inside. Like we discussed over there at the APC, AIC campus, I don't know if you took a drive over there
Yeah.
to see the baseball fields in that pit there.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well,
that-
we could look at that for next year, because if we get on the list for next year,
Right, that
Then
would be great to
they
have
come
an
through.
outside. They can come set their tent up there. I mean, the kids will see it if it's during the school year. If we have it in May, you know what I mean. The kids will see it. I mean, they'll be all pumped up, and you know, I think it'll go over great. My biggest concern is having it inside. That's
I
my
think
biggest concern.
the circus being inside, personnel, liability, I mean, the board's just going to be
Well,
flocking.
there's just a lot of questions. You've got to let it play out.
I mean, if you could, like I said, if you could add the
Now, how
local-
much time do we need to get this cell thing? What is the date for this?
it was
Very
June,
close.
it's June 24th.
Yeah, that.
That was why we needed to make decisions. Like I waited, you know, I tried to do some preliminary work when the EBBA called and they said, you know, we're interested in, how can we do this?
I think where that would hurt most is trying to get a lot of student fundraising groups, because they've already.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the track is raising money every week. I mean, cross country. They're all starting up for the fall.
True, I'm just
Odyssey
wondering
of the Mind
if.
needs money. Boy Scouts need money. Girl Scouts need money.
Well,
all these people.
As I say that, my feeling is if you're really interested, then you get somebody there. I mean, that's the way it is, no matter when it is. So
When do you
that's up to
say
the
you
groups.
have to actually call them and say, you're on?
When's your drop dead date to get? I mean,
I put
I know you've
tentative
done
down.
a whole lot of work
I put everything
there.
together for them so that I can help them walk through it, because I've done ticket sales, I've done all this marketing
Right.
stuff. So I put a whole thing together, so it's just walking them through the process. What we need to do is get 2 sales forces going, one for sponsoring, one for tickets, and that's where Community Buzz was going to help, and these 21 companies are going to help jump on board. Just getting the word out there had to be like now. I mean, I tentatively threw down that we would do it on June 24th, but I'll have to call and tell them, you better let that date go. I mean, if that's the case, because I think we could sell tickets within a 6-week time if all these companies got hustling. So it's just a matter of getting the sales forces together, and that's where the.
So you need the committee of the whole to give the blessing.
I honestly, I thought it was going to be tonight.
Well, obviously, we'd have
But
the board's got
I mean, that was what I said the other night. I mean, if we needed more people to make this decision, and
There you go.
basically,
I mean, just like the football usage, I mean, we can't make that decision without, we can bring all the fine points together. Obviously, we have some areas that we need to go back, finding out on as far as security check.
but if another company takes all responsibility, if they take all responsibility for everything,
Then it's just a facilities
then they
use
have to fill
request
out the
form.
facilities.
Yeah, then it's facilities use
That
request.
is true.
Yeah.
They would be no different than any other group.
And then
That's
they would
right.
have to come in and monitor
That's
and
right.
do
Yeah.
everything.
She's
for
right.
it.
I mean,
She's exactly right.
if
It's the same thing.
if King Brothers Circus comes in and fills this out and meets all our requirements for what we want, then it's not our issue. Ours is just working out this ticket sales agreement and a little bit of a contract there, because in order to get approval on this facilities request form, they're going to have to meet all of the stipulations in our policy. And one of those I would
Well,
assume.
except for the insurance, which,
Well, it says liability insurance policy, $1 million minimum,
well, that was,
should be required.
well, but Ken had the recommendation from,
I had the recommendation.
But the policy says,
I
we would have to change that according to the board to change this.
Well, this is an
policy.
administrative guideline. I think the board would reserve the right, based on its insurance, if you want to call it counsel, to say that I don't think you would ever want to lock yourself to that as a minimum, because it says 1 million minimum.
I know, but do we do that to other organizations when they come in?
You know what? This
Check?
is such an extenuating circumstance that I couldn't even answer that. We probably haven't. I don't know. That's what you asked that question about what has happened. I don't know that anybody's ever been made to have more, but remember, that is a minimum, so that doesn't leave you the leeway to go higher.
I mean, I can take it to I'm going to go regardless to the meeting on Thursday
Mhm.
and say, well, we can't do the circus, but, I mean, really, when you get the organizations on board, I'm looking at future, and the future is we need them for fundraising, for the foundation, for everything.
Don't dispute
What
that.
what was the circus say about having it outside?
I asked him, and I said, we couldn't have it outside. He said, well, this year is an indoor circus only because of the way they have it.
They don't have a tent to put it over it. That's the problem.
Yeah, they
It's
usually bring their
trapeze.
own tent. What happened was the gentleman who owns this had open heart surgery, and he's the one who runs everything. And he said, well, if he sends his crew out, he's only sending them out with the indoor equipment for an indoor show. And then normally when they come, they set up their own tent. They do everything. I mean, he said it's a full package. You don't have to do. They do it all. They set up, they tear down, they clean up, they do it all. They don't want your help because they want to make sure the way they set it up is precise.
You know, the other thing, if they turn it over to this, that whole clearances thing is not included in this policy. I don't think we
Right.
check clearances on anybody else that comes into the district.
Right.
We're not going to be asking these football guys they can't be on Daniel Boone playing a football game if
Right.
they've ever been arrested for something.
Right,
We don't have that right,
right,
according to this policy.
according to the
I mean,
policy.
the closest thing you have is no smoking on the
Well,
ground.
that's
You know,
that's
Right.
just a
That's
district.
That's the
Okay.
guideline.
Yeah.
That's just a guideline, but
And says no food or drink will be
So
used
that's-
in the gymnasium.
I would
so
guess-
they have to eat outside. I mean,
I would guess, Monica, that's a big question as to who's actually, if this is going to be done through facilities, that changes the whole conversation. As to
I mean,
whether-
obviously, as
I mean,
long
it
as-
doesn't really need board approval from
Yeah.
that standpoint. The only thing that the board would have to look at is whether it wants to waive the fee and the
liability.
insurance and the liability.
I mean, that's just what I got back from Keith Pierce, our insurance.
yeah, and I understand that. I just thought honestly, I think if this other group will take it over, then they fill all this out and
They fill it out and you give them the blessing, correct?
Danielle gives them the blessing, and Tom Henkel will give them the blessing. I don't touch the facilities.
Yeah, she told me she basically follows this, writes down the
Right,
number,
yeah.
and says, here you go.
Yep. I sign all, I'm the last signature.
That's what I was told.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that is true.
Yeah, and that's
It's not really,
there,
it's not a
you're gonna be-
complicated process.
right.
What did we do? I mean, I think there's a new guideline here for what this activity is. I mean, this probably opens the eyes a little more than, this isn't just a group coming in renting to use for basketball games. I think we need to define that. But obviously, under these guidelines, you really can't discriminate on,
Well, it says it's a minimum,
Yeah.
which is not a statement, it's a
but
range.
something.
Well, I have to get an interpretation. It says, by signing this facilities use form, this is what you agree to. First, you're responsible for the conduct of all persons present in the building for the organization's activities. It's letter H. To see that the buildings are not misused, to have the proper adult supervision, to have the required security personnel, and ensure that the buildings and grounds are used in conformity with the rules and regulations of the Board of Education. Now, whether that means they need to have clearances to is a question I probably have to ask Subers.
I'd want
Because I honestly don't, if this football team, that would be the same question. How are you going to get clearances on, how are you going to get clearances on 53 players that are coming on? You're not.
See, my understanding of when I got my clearance as a volunteer, it was because
You were working with kids.
I was working
Directly.
directly with the
Directly.
kids.
I don't think we can make these people, but Kenny, when we have construction workers, Kenny, well, let's see, I can get that in a couple hours tomorrow. When we have like construction workers on site, do those companies, all those
Oh,
guys
yeah.
have? But that's a state law, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, but you're not individually doing them, the company does it.
No, when we do
You
projects,
individually do all of them?
when we do projects, every day I can show you in the last 12 years of a daily log of everybody that's on that job, because you have to keep a daily log for payroll, for the unions and everything like that. So you have to have their clearances on hand, you have to have a daily log for when the union shows
But that's
up
a
to see
long-term
who's
project.
there.
Those people could be here
Yeah.
for a year.
Yeah, these guys are gonna be here for a day.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna pull in the morning and leave that day.
Well, I guess we could debate this all night. What
Yeah.
we're going to get clarification on this liability for Mr. Zubers. One,
Well, the liability, there's no clarification there. That's a minimum. So,
minimum. Are we going to accept? Obviously, we have to accept.
well, I think a lot of it has to do with, we can do our homework and answer all these questions. A lot of it's going to have to do with whether or not,
Well, I'm presenting the whole thing to the Business Alliance, and if they say, we'll take over the whole project,
then
then
the next thing we do is we hand them
they give them the
this.
facilities and
We
off
hand
they
them
go with
this.
this book.
It's a lot easier to make that recommendation to go forward.
And
We
we
hand
get
them
one
this.
check. I just want one check.
Right.
Got it.
Then we hand them this and let them fill it out just like, that's why I told Kenny when he
This
drew up
has-
the agenda to put this under facilities use, because this
Just
is
as
really
the
what the,
Optimist does.
It signs everything off. to
right,
him.
like the Optimist does, like the Red City Outlaws are planning to
Then
do.
then the business end of it, they're gonna be responsible
Mm-hmm.
for everything.
Because to
Right.
be honest with you, we waived some of the Optimist fee. There's been a gentleman's
Yeah.
agreement.
That's been
That's
before
that
I got
preceded
here.
me.
Yeah, that was before.
Because
I
they
even
give so
got
much
here.
back to the district, so there
Yeah.
is a precedent for, waiving some of that.
Yeah.
So, do we have who's present full approval that we let Monica take this to the Eastern Berks Business Alliance?
Well,
And
that's her decision, I think, really.
and if they want to fill this form, they come to the school, and Danielle and Mr. Hankel give approval,
And Dr. Otto,
and Dr. Otto.
And I'll take my advice from Ken in terms of whether we feel there's going to be, issues with the use of the facility.
Well, obviously-
We reserve the right to say no if we got a horse that's coming in there with metal shoes
Right.
and they're not going to put down the proper stuff.
We need to see, before any alliance group, we need to see how they are protecting that floor.
I mean, I'm going to look at Kenny and say, Kenny, do you believe the building's going to be left the way it?
Well, do you want the owner's name to talk to?
Yeah.
His name's Nad. And here, give it back. Just write down and give that back, because I was going to call him and ask more questions.
No, we'll do that for you.
So he's the owner, and I didn't call him yet because I
Remember,
thought
you're not paid on staff. That's why when you pay us, we'll take care of that for
Well, I wanted to talk to him anyway.
you. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it makes it a little more clean cut and dry.
Right, if he has
Through
specific
the
questions and if this organization will do it, I just want one check to the school.
I would support that resolution.
Okay.
All right,
in favor of
Kenny.
that?
9 o'clock, we're done.
Okay.
I'm missing Dancing with the Stars.
You
So-
actually watch
No,
it?
I'm just kidding.
So basically, we take this to make announcement at the board committee of the whole, and obviously, will we have information, obviously, by then, if this is really gonna work?
Well, I'll
Or
know
not.
I'll
by
get,
Thursday.
we'll answer the questions that we need to answer.
Correct.
But once, like, my understanding is we need to clarify that expectation of how much liability, and the second thing is expectation of clearances. But I think that's pretty cut and dry. I don't think it's our job to be policing who they bring on here if we don't do that with any other group.
I mean, if you happen to call tomorrow, Ken, and you feel uncomfortable about it, would you call me? And
Yeah, what's your phone number?
It's 484-794-8466. Because I'm still going to present it for next year for the 10th. Because
That I wouldn't have a problem with.
But if it can do it this year and start it out and kind of jumpstart everything, it'd be a good time to start it.
Well, I think we were thinking, having it at the soccer field too, at the, past the tennis courts. Then you could have all your stands, you'd have more room for parking.
I can't put it in the park.
Can't put it in the park, even without township approval?
With township approval, but I'd rather not. I mean, it's gonna cost me money to bring in fields back up then.
No.
I mean,
I was
holy cow.
going to keep everything on the blacktop.
Yeah.
Keep it
We're just
clean
saying
and
for next
simple.
year if you want.
Oh,
I mean,
next
but
year. Okay.
like over at the AIC, APC
Yeah.
campus down in the
Cool
pit
property.
down there, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
The only issue we have is like transportation back and forth, because we'd have to park at the middle school, we'd have to I go ask Stevie for, donating some transportation and everything like that. You know what I mean? We could set everything up at that campus, but there will be no parking.
Right.
Because there's limited parking to begin with. So. And we'd have to also coordinate with the township too, as far as having, maybe an extra cop there, you know what I mean, for traffic control and crowd control and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, capital improvement. This is my attempt to start basically a reserve study. I started on it, and basically I tried to list everything that's in the schools. So the first one is the Amity Intermediate Building, and this is what I'm asking for capital improvements for this year. If you look at the $10,000 bill there, you flip it to the next page, and you can see where I want to do there. We have basically 20,000 square feet of flat roof over there that needs to be coated. I'd like to do that this summer. So what I'm asking there is to take that $10,000 and for capital for that building. Monocacy Elementary. The $4,500 right there, that's for the security camera out front to buzz the people in. We don't have a security camera at that building at the front entrance. Every other building has one, that one does not. I'd like to do that. There's some stuff there, Mike, you might want to look at that and give me a buzz tomorrow on what you think. You're more familiar with that than I am. Amity Primary, I don't see anything. It's a new building. Birdsboro Elementary Center. Where are we at with the chillers? Did we approve one chiller?
We did approve
We did approve one chiller.
one chiller,
Okay.
because obviously there was a need, obviously, with that down.
Right. So I can move forward with starting to get the ball rolling to replace that chiller?
Correct.
Okay.
And that was around individually 130.
You can look right back here, right there it is, it's $129,000, $130,000, basically. for one chiller. And as we progress and phase these in, right here, right there, right there. And as we phase these in, the others that we phase in are going to be cheaper because we'll have the existing piping already in for the number 2 chiller, so we can just tap into that.
So the upfront cost is higher than the
The
continuing
upfront
cost.
cost is higher because we have to run all new pipe down to the pumps downstairs. And basically our existing pumps, we size it up so our pumps that we have downstairs right now, the VFDs we have down there, will be able to handle this. That's why we went with 80-ton chillers instead of 160-ton chillers, because we could keep the same equipment we have downstairs.
Did we talk about what source of revenue we wanted to use to fund these, or this one?
I think we were coming out of capital on that, and obviously we're looking for the second, for the funds coming out of
Construction.
construction.
Okay, so basically, right now, the first one will be out of capital. And 2 and 3 would be out of construction.
Yeah. Well, it might be, the second one will be construction, and we'll have to decide on the third, because I believe we won't, was there 179,000?
Well, I have to get with Brian Subers also, if I could
Well,
call
see, the
him.
construction fund balance is only going to be enough to cover one.
One.
Once we defease that bond.
Okay,
Correct.
so basically what we're looking at right now is 2 chillers
Correct.
from capital and
As
construction.
long as we get, when we're getting those funds.
We'll get that back. That's
Yeah.
just, that's going to be a little bit of a battle probably. But it looks like it's pretty much.
Do we have a definite word from Mr. Zubers when?
Well,
Yeah, they would get-
there, contact was already made with Fred Hatt, and I think,
Oh, that's for the escrow money.
but that escrow money is in the
That's what you're
construction funding.
Correct.
But that's in the construction fund.
That's already
Right.
calculated into the construction fund.
Right.
Okay.
But that money was not discussed, obviously, we're taking, I think, 700 and,
If you look at the
90,000.
last page, in the very, very left column, under cash balance, when you defease that bond, you're taking 790 off of that 916.
correct,
So that's gone.
right.
But what's left is that 126.5, because that bond, that money, and is I think there's about a little over 100,000 left, plus that construction fund balance will be sitting there. Once that bond defeases, then we can begin to use that. Well, you don't even have to defease that one. You can take that one and
Because we're putting it.
because
in construction.
you're extending the life. There's the extended life theory, and Brian has to
Right.
do a little bit of a study on that. But these chillers are well beyond it has to exceed the life period of the bond. So I think we're okay.
Really,
there.
129 for that first chiller, obviously the second one will come down, maybe where it might even match this 126.
It's going to be below that 126.
Okay, so we'll be good actually for the second.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be, yeah.
But we need to do a resolution to authorize
Right.
payment from capital.
This is going to take a while to get everything coordinated, to get my schedule in when they can lift these things up and we can lift them out, with the kids being out of school, with all the programs at Birdsboro, and with moving special education temporarily to a different location in the building. So when we do the second and third floor, they're not without some type of climate control. And also, too, thank you for doing this, and basically, this is needed very much out there because we have to control the climate, because if we don't control the climate out there real soon, we're going to be running into a mold problem.
No, we don't even want to discuss what
That's
the
worse than
abatement
redistricting.
would be on that.
Yes.
There's a couple buzzwords for superintendents: mold, redistricting.
Yeah. And I'm going to start, if you've ever been out to the building, the carpets are shot in the classrooms. So like we did with the door project there, I'd like to spend $5,000 a year, basically right now for the next 5 years, to put VCT into the classrooms.
It's more healthy anyway.
Most of the carpets in there are just about down to the burlap. They've been in there since 1987. So been a while. If you go to the next one, is basically the middle school. There's nothing at the middle school. The high school, you have on the following page there, the cost to fix the roof and basically the agreement, the 5-year coverage on the roof for maintenance and housekeeping. Basically be $24,000.
That was a good news event.
That was great news. And you can see, basically, they did the infrared testing for that $2,500. Basically, this year, I bought just 2 photos. That's a roof with no leakage in it, no seam. This is the roof with a bad seam. So basically, you can see it.
What makes them change color like that?
The water.
Oh, 'cause
Water
so
in it.
there's water underneath that whole
Water
scene.
and the heat, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that our roof?
That's the high school gym roof right
So that's
there.
the one that needs to be sealed.
That's the one that needs a new seam put in.
Is that the one where we always just get the leaks in the buckets?
That's the one where I got Scott's tarp hanging up there and everything inside the gym right now.
Yeah, no more of that.
Tarp hanging in.
That's just looks cheap.
Looks like Hillbilly City in there.
Yeah, that's just cheap.
Yeah. So that's it there. And the standing seam roof above the library. We're getting some rust spots on there for $1,900. We do it in-house. We'd basically sand the rough spots up and recoat the roof. So that's what I'm looking at, $2,600 there for capital cost for that building. And that's basically it. We have
All
to
right, so
really-
then we need to take to the board a resolution to fund the chiller.
Right, and actually, let's get back to that in a minute. What we originally had discussed too was going to be, one was capital. The second one, we were going to, any reserve funds that were left from your budget this year?
As far, I can go over that. That's the next thing on my agenda here. It looks like my fund balance this year is, I'm looking at probably about $150,000 to $175,000 left over.
We could take,
Well, just before you do that, the board needs to hear, because that's all part of the bigger fund balance. So you just need to, there's no separate,
well, obviously, we had discussed of taking any surplus funds that Kenny does save, and we're going to throw that back using in his for capital.
I just think you want to run that by the board before you do that, because all of that money, when Danielle does her calculation for fund balance at the end of the year, it's all part of the same pot.
Yeah.
So just make
that's
sure,
right.
make sure you have that
You're right.
conversation with the board, because Danielle will fall off her chair here if you say,
Yeah, well,
you know,
let me-
Kenny's money
let me
versus somebody
check-
else's
let me
money
check
versus
with
somebody else's
Danielle.
money.
Let me check with Danielle to see where the total fund balance is at, what projections she has right now.
Because to be quite honest with you, if he comes in 150 under, and then I get 6 special ed placements, over that 150 gets wiped right out. It's
Well, I know, but we did discuss months ago that obviously anything that Kenny does save, we should be putting back, because obviously we have a lot of needs. Kenny has a lot of needs himself that he's been Band-Aiding for.
well,
for
there's
years.
some other options you have with that. If you really, as a board, believe that the money that has been saved as a result of facilities, you can kind of designate that by sending it over into capital, and then it
Well, I think
stays
that's-
there.
Well, I think we discussed that months ago.
But we didn't in the budget put anything in the capital reserve for the passage of this budget this year. So
Well, we
just
can
remember
probably-
that
we can bring that-
conversation
yeah, we can
has
bring
to
that
be
to the board.
that conversation can still be had if you want to designate. Let's just say X at the end of the year for Kenny is
Well,
100.
Kenny can
There's some
confirm.
things out here to 2015, and I saw a couple years out that you're planning, so.
I mean, this could be worse. It could have
See,
exceeded the high school.
in
And
good
like I
times, in good times, you should always designate a certain percentage of your budget
Right.
for capital reserve. We just haven't been able to do that because of the crisis we've been in. So because of the good weather we had this year, he's now resulting in some savings. The
Right.
board
Well,
might want to
I-
give consideration
I don't think
to put into some
Danielle
of that money into capital reserve.
Had
That's-
taken any of that money away from Kenny at this point, so if we can confirm that. And now obviously that's funds we can put,
Towards the children.
you know, it's going to be a swap one way or the other. It's
Right.
either going to be capital in this or capital and
But I think
out
the
of
way,
construction fund.
again, the way you want to term it is it's
Yeah.
all fund balance money.
Let me get with you
There's no
again,
separate
Morris.
fund balance for facilities. It's all just whatever's left over from,
It's a big pot.
it's one big pot of money. You know, if Shelley were to come in special ed and have, because it's conceivable that special ed could underspend.
And she would say, well, if I saved this much, I want it to go back to my department.
No, she wouldn't necessarily. I think the district has the right to control that money. It's all part of your general
Well,
fund balance.
we'll come to the board as a whole, and we'll bring back up what we did discuss.
I'm not,
You know,
I'm not
I-
anti what he wants.
Right, but I think
it's
we had
important how you
overall
couch
general
the
consensus
conversation.
on it, and I think the board will go with that. I don't see a problem with that.
I frankly don't either. I just,
Yeah.
how it's represented is important so that people, I don't want facilities or I could have, every department head could wind up coming to me and saying, hey, that's my money. Well, you know what? Other places it might go up and down, so it's really all the district's
I
fund
mean, I
balance.
can make a motion for the funds. You give me a dollar amount to go back.
I'll have to work with Danielle on that to see where we're at, and I just want to sit down with her tomorrow to get an see where we're at as far as the total fund balance. Because like Gary said, I know if we do that on a Monday night, she'll just,
Yeah, I don't want to.
she'll have a total.
I don't want to see her.
But I would
eyes.
expect any business manager to
Both
do that,
eyes
not
across
just,
the tape,
not
right.
just Danielle. Any
Right.
business manager that's worth their salt will tell you it's all one pot of money. It's the district's money. We have to figure out then as a board and an administration how we want to designate all that money.
Okay.
Okay, so that's basically it on capital improvement projects. So, do we have to bring to the whole board the $10,000 for the high school roof coating?
Yeah, that
It's
exceeds
above
that.
$3,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So that needs to go to the board. I'll get with Lori tomorrow to put that on. The $4,500 for the security camera at
Correct.
Monocacy.
Right.
I'll get her to put that on the agenda also. The chillers. Do we put the chillers on the agenda?
Yeah,
Why-
if
why don't
we're
we
funding
put that
one
in?
from cap reserve, that's a done deal.
Okay. So we have to put the
So Lori needs to put that on as a
So we
resolution
have to
as
put
well.
that on the agenda there. And,
You have to put the flooring on
We-
there? 'Cause
well,
it's
the,
5,000,
the,
or is
the,
it not
the
there?
flooring, what that does is I usually send that out on CoStars. You know what I mean? So that's basically state purchasing and stuff like that. I mean, we can if we want to.
I don't, you
but
really
I
don't.
usually don't.
Until you're ready to dispense the money, I don't think you need to put, we're getting ready, we want to get these things
Oh, I
spent.
thought you were going to do that too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I don't know if I'm going to get to that right away this summer.
Okay.
If we get to it in September, we'll bring it back in September as a
because-
resolution.
When we're doing these chillers this summer, I'm not going to have the time to go in and babysit these guys putting the VCT
Right.
in. So I might take like
That's for
Thanksgiving
discussion purposes at
or
this
Christmas, move the furniture out of that classroom because I don't want to do it now over the summer because the guys are cleaning in the classrooms. So I usually do it like Thanksgiving, over Christmas, a couple days, like a weekend here or there. They come up during the winter and we'll move one classroom out on a Friday afternoon. They'll come in on a Saturday, bang it out. We'll come in on a Sunday, wax the floor up, move the stuff back in. Early Monday morning, they're ready for class.
It's a long weekend.
During the winter. And the $2,400, $24,000 for the roof. And that's basically it.
So three agenda items,
Three
chiller,
agenda.
roof, camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
both roofs.
both roofs, AIC.
AIC roof, high school
Four,
roof.
four agenda
chiller.
items.
Right.
Yes.
And what's the mounting location for this camera? Where is it going to be looking from and to? Within 15 feet?
Yes. Yeah.
You're good here then.
Yeah, it's going to be basically, only thing that we really want is basically in the vestibule, shining down the vestibule, then outside, right as where they come in, you know, the entrance of the school, that is
Yeah,
it.
this is pretty standard price. These are, you're going to see a lot more of this, internet protocol cameras, because most of this cost is actually the computer.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's what Mike said. I just wanted to buy, look
no,
good.
That's fine.
Okay.
Pretty standard.
Okay.
Great, great. All right. Here's my budget to date. I'll just fly over this quick. I think there's something there too.
Two there. You're welcome.
You can page through it there. If you go back to the third page, repairs, maintenance, info systems. Last year when I did my budget presentation, I told you that basically I'm going to have to spend some money this year. And we did spend some money on BCUs, building control units, and tuck boards for the heat pumps. So that's what that negative number shows right there, and which I'll be able to balance that negative number with the fund balance that, you know, just transfer some money into that account.
And obviously, officially now the van is paid for.
Yes. Yep. Van is paid for. And you go all the way to the back page, run this through real quick. You can take a look at it. If you have any questions, you can give me a call. But basically, you see the balance that I have right now, and that was, as of Friday, I have $454,000 left in fund balance as of right now. But that does not include the May and June electric and natural gas.
How's
bills.
that? How do you think that's going to come in?
Electric could come in basically like electric does, standard price. Natural gas is going to be down. You know, natural gas is down. So, you know, I'll get with Danielle tomorrow.
Have you noticed the air conditioners starting to come up?
We've been running. We filled our towers up back at the end of February because we were having 75-degree days and 80-degree days. So we filled our cooling towers back up in February because it was calling for cooling. Because a lot of our loops were going on high pressure because we weren't bringing cool water in.
Okay.
Yeah. That's basically it there. I'm working with Utilitech right now on our contract for electricity runs out December 12th, December of 2012. So you can look at the back there. We're trying to procure electric for either 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months. You can see the price. Hess gave us the cheapest price, but they will not sign a 3-year contract with us. Right now we're dealing with First Energy Solutions. First Energy Solutions is trying to get our business, but as you see here, they're a lot higher.
Are they willing to negotiate right now?
They're willing to negotiate for the remainder of this year even. So I'll be working with Utilitech in the next 2 weeks with First Energy, and if they don't want to, play ball with us, then we're going to basically sign the 2-year contract with Hess.
Kenny, is this Utilitech company the same company that makes batteries now that I see in Lowe's?
No.
How can two companies have that same name?
I don't know.
That's really strange. Have you seen them?
Mm-hmm.
They sell batteries by Utilitech, and I thought, oh, it's the same company.
No, it's not. This is just a consulting firm.
Huh.
So I'll be working on that in the next 2 weeks, trying to get that done. Staffing right now, just go over that briefly where I'm at. Danielle put in the budget that we're not going to hire one employee back at the high school, Amanda, which Gary and I let go back in January. Tina has handed in her resignation 2 weeks ago. I just got another resignation today at the middle school, third shift floor guy. Jim Massey, September 1st is going to retire, and Sally, June 9th is going to retire. I want to bring them 4 positions back.
Yeah, I would recommend that. We've taken a lot of cuts in custodial.
I can't go no further. I have maintenance guys now filling in for custodians.
Both of those at middle school?
There's 2 at the middle school, 1 at AIC and 1 at APC.
Kenny took a big hit over the last 2 years.
So I'd like to keep them positions that I have. I don't really want to give them up. Because like today, I had to send Glenn, one of my maintenance guys, out to Birdsboro because Harry called in sick. And I have Mikey basically filling in for Tina at the middle school because Tina's not there. So I'll basically, with all this going on a daily average, I lose 1 to 2 maintenance people a day just for filling in for people.
Now your rehire, obviously
Because I don't call in subs.
cheaper rate on a rehire, replacing these.
Yeah, they'll come in at a cheaper rate. They'll come in as
Probationary.
probationary, category 1.
Now,
You know,
like you said, he does floors.
Joe does floors, so I'm going to have to find somebody who has some experience at doing floors.
Would it pay to come back to our?
Robotics?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not completely sold on that right now till I see what happens at Governor Mifflin. I'll let Jerry do.
Let him be our beta group.
I'll let Jerry do the legwork up at Governor Mifflin.
He can be the beta group.
Yeah. Then I'll see how it rolls for him. Then possibly, because I have, right now, the way it looks, I have 4 retiring next year. Yeah. So there's
That would make sense then.
There's a big turnover right now
Okay.
in the next 2-3 years.
And obviously there's a savings every.
Yes.
So maybe not a lot, but there's still a savings.
Yeah.
And hopefully Danielle will put that
Yeah.
in the budget. Okay.
Then, I don't know, under other,
Kenny, any progress on we've been in the background working on a sketch plan, and we've been hearing some possibilities of terminating our lease here prior. So, Kenny, any progress?
As far as this building, I've been talking to Brooke. I think he's ready to move on the boardroom.
Yes.
He has people looking at the boardroom, this room right here. It's a good possibility we'll be getting out of this lease real soon. I've had one person call me today. It's a private school that's interested on the 2nd floor.
Might be a special needs school. We're not really sure.
I'm not really sure, so that's just where we're at. As far as the logistics moving to the high school, that's all done.
It's not physically done, but the battle plan is there.
The battle plan is there. It's all laid
So
out.
what would be the
We're done.
timeline?
Kenny said he needs about 4 months.
I told Brooke with everything that's going on over the summer, I can move the classrooms and everything. If it would happen this summer, I'm not saying it would happen this summer, that people got to come in, look at the building and everything like that. I would need 4 months. The classrooms ain't too much of a big deal, but I have to do my summer work, and we're going to be really. I can't get in because I got to move basically people out, make a couple offices for them. When I do that, I vacate them spaces that we're going to move into in the high school. I got to go in and I got to make it work for the business office and the district office. I mean, the
That must
VCT
be-
floors, I have to put carpet tiles in them. I got to make them attractive for when the public comes in. I just can't.
We're going to assume we're going to not have the big savings the first year.
That initial cost.
Because you have
Right
an
now-
initial, but it's not going to be extraordinary. but
Right
it's gonna- you
now,
have to spend a little
basically,
money.
for the phone drops and basically the IT drops, we're looking at basically $3,000 to $4,000 for that. For my end of it, I'm looking at anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000.
I was going to say, what are we looking all in? Less than 25 grand.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I don't want to do, that eventually we can, is since this could fall through in a heartbeat, I don't want to reflect any kind of savings for the budget next year. If we
Right.
happen to pull this off, it'll just be surplus.
This is
This is just us talking.
a heads up right now.
Well,
I mean,
are we gonna pull both together upstairs and here, or can we say get out tomorrow?
Well, if I can get a guaranteed savings and they want this tomorrow, we can have board meetings anywhere.
At the middle school?
I mean, Gary and I talked about it. I mean, if Brooke comes to us tomorrow, we're going to say, here you go.
Are we waiting
We'll
for
come down
Brooke?
and move our stuff out.
Are we waiting for Brooke versus us going to him saying, hey, you can have the boardroom next week?
We already had that
We've
conversation.
already had that conversation.
We had that conversation 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We're moving, man. We're not-
Right, well, I'm saying, can we pull the cord now and
Well, no, we
No,
have
we
to have
can't.
somebody.
We have to have an.
They have to have somebody.
We just can't pull out, or we
okay.
get a
We'll get dinged in the
substantial-
lease.
We'll get
Okay.
dinged, man.
The whole,
big
the
time.
whole.
Okay, so he don't want to be good faith and say, hey, I know you're
No.
still.
Oh,
It's
no,
not
no, 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 no. We're stuck here if they don't
Okay.
find
It's
somebody.
not happening. We're-
Okay.
Nobody's
we're
got that kind of good
We're
faith.
stuck here till June 30th of 2020.
And that's why I said, Scott, because this could fall through in a heartbeat, I'm not going to tell the board, you can say, well, next year we're going to save $86,000 because we might very well be
Right.
stuck through the whole
Well, like I
next
said, I
year.
knew we were talking to him, but I didn't know at what degree. Is
Well,
he
the talk
good faith?
was, you go out and let people know that
Okay.
we're mobilized and ready to
So-
move.
Yeah, there is a sign out front, lease space, I think, is that the space they're talking about?
No, they're very active right now. They're getting a lot of hits on this building. That space where Manitou used to be, I think he said he's got that done.
That's the.
PennDOT wants to come in here and take over this space for this Red Turtle Bridge out here.
PennDOT took Manitou's old space. Now, basically, Brooks working on, so they don't have to set up job trailers out there. Brooks working on the construction, people coming down here and occupying this for their job trailers. And to have their meetings and stuff with the,
Okay,
that's
so
what
this
they're-
could be very close to this room, releasing us.
Yes,
Okay, that's good.
And that's going to be a definite,
real
What
close.
portion of that 150 or whatever it is a year?
It's $100,000 with utilities. I'd say that's about a $30,000 chunk.
Something.
but we use this room obviously for these meetings 4 times a month and 2 board meetings, so 6 times a month. We use it once a month for administrative council. I could do that anywhere, literally. I mean, we could do it on the parking lot. No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
your
but-
majority of where your people are coming from, you think you would hold it at that whatever building?
When I was at North Penn, we even had a central office, and sometimes we would just, so to show goodwill, we would take the administrative team and go meet in an elementary building, take a tour of
Right.
the building, say hello to the teachers. I think that's positive.
Oh, yeah.
So, we can satellite our administrative meetings. That's not a problem whatsoever. We've got a huge auditorium. I mean, the sound system's not the greatest, but we've worked it out to have our board meetings. I mean, honestly, from after the passage of the budget and from August to until you get to about February, what's your average crowd at a board meeting? 15 people?
Unless you're having student awards, with parents, and then
Or
they-
unless
they-
you have, right. But, I mean, and then they leave, so we've got plenty of space to, this was all rented back at a time when we needed to do it. There was no other place to go. We have options now. And I think it'll good look in the eyes of the public that we're trying to do the
Oh,
best we
I
can to
think this
save
would be
money.
great.
Yeah, so basically it's
Just stay tuned. We may be announcing real quick,
It's
we're
done.
done.
It's done. I mean, everybody was notified at the high school as far as classroom moves of what's going on by Bill. Bill's been a great help, so Dr. Otto, in getting this done. So,
I had an original plan, they shot that one down, so they came up with another one.
Well, I can still remember when the
But
high
I
school
said, I want a plan.
where they're, everything worked out in there anyway. So
Conceptually, where are they going to go?
Annex,
in the annex.
front annex.
Front annex, B1, 2, and 3, and basically where the guidance is at now.
All right, so
Yep, it's all the front of the building.
I don't want any egress from the public going around when I was at Twin Valley, up on the hill there, I don't know if you're familiar with Twin Valley High School, the central office was right there, and kids would just walk right past the central office every day. I mean, there was no separation. And then when we renovated that building at the end of the 1990s, they actually jutted out the building. If you notice that new part up there,
Around
that became the central office up there. And they actually closed it off to the student population so that you couldn't, there was a doorway that you could, but it was a one-way doorway. You could only come out. You'd have to have a key to get back in. But when I first started working there, if you were a student, you could walk in and start talking to the superintendent if you wanted, but we'll do the best we can with that. That's probably not a bad thing in a small school district.
okay, with that we have no other items. I guess meeting's adjourned.
So be it. At 9:09. Adjourned.